Ernest Borgnine really hated him more than anyone else. Ernest Borgnine was born with the name Hermes Ephron Borgino on January 24, 1917, in Hamden, Connecticut. Ernest's parents came from Italy to live in America. His dad worked hard doing physical jobs while his mom did different kinds of work to help pay for everything the family needed, teaching young Ernest to work hard and never give up. His parents split up later, and Borgnine spent some of his childhood living in Italy and going back and forth between the two countries. This experience helped him understand and care about people from all different backgrounds. Even though he didn't seem interested in acting when he was young, his life took a surprising path that brought him to become a Hollywood star. Before becoming an actor, Borgnine served with honor in the United States Navy. Joining up in 1935, he worked in the Navy for 10 years, including fighting in World War II, where he operated guns on Navy ships in both the Atlantic and Pacific Oceans. The hard work, friendship with fellow sailors, and strong sense of duty he learned during his time in the Navy stayed with him his whole life. Borgnine often said the Navy made him who he was, teaching him to be humble, work well with others, and show respect. These qualities shaped how he acted both at work and in his personal life. Even after he became famous, he was proud to call himself a sailor first, then an actor. After leaving the Navy, Borgnine studied acting under Baruch Lumet at the Hartford Conservatory and later worked in theater. His strong build, big toothy smile, and expressive face made him noticeable right away. Though he didn't look like a typical movie star, Hollywood first gave him roles as tough guys and bad guys, and Borgnine threw himself into these parts completely. He made a strong early impression in movies like The Whistle at Eaton Falls in 1951, and From Here to Eternity in 1953, where he played the mean Sergeant Fatso Judson. His performance was scary and memorable, making him one of the best actors of his time. But Borgnine was much more than just a villain. In 1955, he gave the best performance of his career in Delbert Mann's movie, Marty, playing a lonely, big-hearted butcher from the Bronx, looking for love and feeling good about himself. This role was totally different from his earlier movie characters, showing a deep emotional side that amazed audiences and movie critics. Borgnine's acting as Marty Paletti felt real, honest, and touching. It was so good that he won the Academy Award for Best Actor, beating out famous actors like James Dean and Frank Sinatra. Marty became an important movie, and Borgnine's win is still remembered as one of the most celebrated and surprising moments in Oscar history. During the 1960s and 1970s, Borgnine kept building an amazing collection of work in movies and TV shows. He appeared in big movies, including The Dirty Dozen in 1967, The Wild Bunch in 1969, Emperor of the North in 1973, and The Poseidon Adventure in 1972, where his heroic role as a police officer really connected with audiences. He could easily move between action movies, dramas, comedies, and westerns, always making his characters feel real. Directors liked him not just for his talent, but also because he was professional and kind to everyone on set. Borgnine also became very successful on TV, most famously starring as Lieutenant Commander Quentin McHale in the popular series McHale's Navy from 1962 to 1966. This role showed off his funny side and warmth, making a whole new group of fans love him. Many years later, he became popular again as the voice of Mermaid Man on SpongeBob SquarePants, showing that people of all ages loved him, no matter what kind of show it was. Even when he got older, Borgnine kept working regularly, taking on new opportunities with excitement and thankfulness. Ernest Borgnine's personal life was just as eventful and complicated as the memorable characters he played on screen. His life was filled with love, heartbreak, and finally lasting happiness. During his long life, Borgnine got married 5 times. Each marriage showed a different part of his emotional life and revealed the very human side of the tough, larger-than-life actor. His first marriage was to Rhoda Kemmons, who he spent his early adult years with before fame completely changed. His life from this marriage came a daughter, who made him proud during a time when Borgnine was still figuring out who he was and trying to make it as an actor. However, the stress of wanting success, changing situations, and the challenges of starting his career became too much. And the marriage ended in separation in 1958. Closing the chapter on his first experience with family life. Soon after, Borgnine got into a very public marriage with Mexican actress Katy Jurado, a woman who was beautiful and very talented. Their marriage, which lasted from 1958 to 1963, got a lot of attention because they were both famous people dealing with Hollywood's constant spotlight. Though the marriage lasted several years, differences in their backgrounds, strong personalities, and the tough demands of being stars eventually became too hard to handle. And the relationship ended even though they truly cared about each other. Probably the most famously short marriage of Borgnine's life was his third one to Broadway legend Ethel Merman. Lasting only 32 days, this marriage became one of Hollywood's most talked about mismatches. Two big personalities with very different lifestyles and expectations. Borgnine and Merman quickly realized that admiring each other and being famous weren't enough to make a marriage work. Though it was short, the marriage became a famous story in entertainment history, often mentioned as an example of how even the biggest stars can make mistakes when it comes to love. Borgnine's fourth marriage to Donna Runcourt brought back a sense of family and stability. Together, they had 3 children, 1 son and 2 daughters, and for a while, Borgnine took on the role of caring husband and father with honesty and hope. Even though they were committed to raising their family together, the marriage eventually fell apart, and after 7 years, the couple got divorced. Still, this time was important in Borgnine's life because it made his role as a family man stronger and left a lasting emotional mark on him. Finally, in the last and longest chapter of his romantic life, Borgnine married Tove Tresnes, a Norwegian-born businesswoman and entrepreneur. This marriage turned out to be the steady relationship he had been looking for. Tove stayed with him through decades of continued success, public appearances, and the quiet routines of later life. Their partnership was built on loyalty, respect for each other, and constant support, lasting until Borgnine's death. In Tove, he found not just a wife but a lifelong partner, bringing him the happiness and emotional peace that he couldn't find in his earlier years. Out of all the strong personalities Ernest Borgnine met during his long and very successful career, no one made him feel deeper, longer-lasting hatred than Jan Michael Vincent. Borgnine was never someone who held back his words, and when he didn't, like someone, everyone could tell. With Vincent, that dislike turned into something much stronger and intense disgust that Borgnine would later talk about openly and without holding back. Borgnine believed deeply in being professional. He had worked his way up the hard way, serving in the U.S. Navy and earning his success through theater and small movie roles before making it big. He valued hard work, being prepared, and respecting the job above everything else. To him, acting wasn't just about being famous or talented. It was a responsibility to the crew, to other actors, and to the audience. Jan Michael Vincent, in Borgnine's eyes, was the complete opposite of those values. Borgnine was especially angry about what he saw as Vincent's constant unreliability. Vincent's problems with drinking and drug abuse were well known in the movie business, and Borgnine felt those problems kept messing up production. He didn't see Vincent's behavior as sad or misunderstood. Instead, he saw it as selfish. He didn't care who he hurt, Borgnine once said. If he showed up at all, that was supposed to be enough. It wasn't enough for me. To Borgnine, showing up late, forgetting lines, and having unpredictable moods weren't just small problems, they were serious breaks in professional trust. What made Borgnine's resentment even stronger was his feeling that Vincent wasted amazing potential. Jan-Michael Vincent had undeniable charm and a natural screen presence that could captivate audiences. Borgnine clearly recognized that talent, which only made his frustration deeper. The kid had everything, Borgnine said bitterly. Looks, talent, opportunities most actors would die for, and he threw it all away. Borgnine found it unforgivable that someone blessed with such gifts would repeatedly sabotage himself and those around him. Borgnine also had a problem with what he saw as Vincent's attitude toward co-stars. Borgnine was proud of being friendly and respectful, no matter how famous someone was. He believed a movie set should work like a team, not a system based on big egos. Vincent's behavior, on the other hand, seemed arrogant and careless to him. He acted like the world owed him something, Borgnine said. I never believed that. You earn your place every day, or you don't deserve it. Unlike many people in Hollywood who change their opinions over time, Borgnine never changed his mind. Even years later, when Vincent's life had clearly fallen apart and people might have expected sympathy, Borgnine stayed blunt. He didn't deny Vincent's personal suffering, but he refused to excuse it. Plenty of people have problems, Borgnine stated. They don't use them as an excuse to disrespect everyone else. For Borgnine, being compassionate didn't mean staying. Quiet and being honest mattered more than being polite. This intense dislike wasn't caused by jealousy or competition. Borgnine had nothing to prove. By the time he spoke openly about Vincent, his own legacy was secure. Built on decades of praised performances and a reputation as one of Hollywood's most reliable actors. His anger came from disappointment and his principles, not competition. He saw Jan-Michael Vincent as a symbol of wasted promise and careless privilege, and that, more than anything, upset him. In the end, Ernest Borgnine's hatred of Jan-Michael Vincent showed as much about Borgnine as it did about Vincent. It highlighted Borgnine's unwavering belief in work ethic, taking responsibility, and respecting the profession, where others saw a tragic figure destroyed by addiction. Borgnine saw a man who repeatedly chose irresponsibility over commitment. I loved acting too much to tolerate that, Borgnine said flatly. And for Ernest Borgnine, that judgment was final. At the age of 95, Ernest Borgnine's long and extraordinary life came to a quiet end, marking the end of a career and personal journey that had lasted nearly a century. He died on July 8, 2012 at Cedars-Sinai Medical Center in Los Angeles, one of the city's most well-known hospitals, a place often connected with the final chapters of Hollywood legends. The official cause of death was kidney failure, a condition that commonly happens to elderly people, but it still brought a sense of finality to the life of a man who had always seemed unstoppable, strong in spirit, loud in voice, and tireless in his love for living and working.